My name is Faith Ashworth. I am 10 years old, and I am not just here to nominate my dad's friend, Jeremy Friedbaum. I am here because I have a really big problem that only you can help me with. Yesterday, I checked my piggy bank and counted all my savings. It came to $12.47. But don't worry, I'm not here to ask you for money. After all, I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Another thing I checked yesterday was a website called usdebtclock.org. It says the U.S. national debt is over $15 trillion, and the numbers are spinning up so fast, every few months it goes up another trillion. Now I have to admit, at 10 years old, I have a really hard time understanding just how much a trillion is. But my dad says that's okay, because almost everybody does, especially the politicians in Washington, D.C. who spend it. So my problem is, some of you older Republicans, and I think that means everybody else in this room, keep sending the same Republican politicians back to Washington who help the Democrats spend trillions of dollars they don't have, and they expect me and other kids my age to pay for it. Maybe that's because of another big problem. Since there are only 100 senators in the whole country, when they get to Washington, everybody treats them like they are a really big deal. And the longer they stay there, the more they start to believe it. There are a few kids in my school who think they are a big deal. They always think they are right, even when they are not. And they don't listen very well, just like a lot of politicians. I think Washington, D.C. must be a lot like Pleasure Island in the movie Pinocchio. It's a magical land of temptation for Republicans where they get so much money, privileges, and power. They soon decide they never want to leave. And just like in Pinocchio, they eventually end up looking more and more like donkeys and less like grand old elephants. In Washington, D.C., there are good guys and bad guys. The good guys believe that God helped write our Constitution, and our government should do only what the Constitution said it should. And God says right here in the Scriptures, in Doctrine and Covenants 101, verse 80, I established the Constitution of this land by the hands of wise men, whom I am raised unto this very purpose. The bad guys are the ones who want our government to do things the Constitution said it shouldn't. Now, even a 10-year-old can understand that. Some things the bad guys want the government to do sound like nice things, but usually they're things that God wants us to do ourselves, like parents taking care of their kids when they are little, and kids when they grow up, taking care of their parents when they get old. When we do it ourselves, we do it because we want to, because we love our families and our neighbors, and because we know it is what God wants us to do. When the government tries to do this for us, they force us to do it their way. It's not an act of love done by someone you know. It's a job done by a government worker far away. It's done with lots of government rules and not a lot of common sense. It makes people depend on government rather than grateful to God for inspiring us to take care of one another. It's not God's plan. On caucus night, my dad came home very sad. He said a lot more people came to the caucus than usual, and the people who came this year were not worried about if the Constitution was being followed or about all the trillions of politicians have spent and left me to pay. They just didn't want to see someone they had grown old with get thrown out of his job. They thought of him the way he was when he first got sent there, and they didn't pay attention to how much Washington had changed him. So my dad said, "You tell them, Faith. Maybe they'll listen to you. They won't listen to me or any of the other adults who can see how badly we need a change in Washington. Maybe that's why God made you good speaker for your age. Maybe you can touch their hearts. Yes, I got help with this speech, but I understand and believe every word. So please, don't do what a lot of you came here to do. Help me instead. Have some faith in what God said about our Constitution. Senator Hatch will be okay if you let him have more time to spend with his grandkids and great-grandkids, and his grandkids and your grandkids will be better off if we send a fresh, good guy to represent Utah and Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Come back up here. I want to be the first to nominate Faith in 20 years when she's eligible for the U.S. Senate. Thank you for listening, and I just hope you can be worthy of the courage and faith that Faith said to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.